5 minutes to just kind of summarize where we're coming from and where, who I am and what this is all about and what started it, so that there's a background. So
Cool.
I'm going to start with, hi, I'm Rachel. And I know most of you know me, but if you don't know me personally, hi, I'm Rachel. And I own Will Forage for Food, and Will Forage for Food owns the Foragers Gathering. So that's
Yeah, that's
um
just basic background information.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
seeing some familiar
So
faces.
Yay.
yes, lots of familiar faces. So, and I see Denise's cat. Always good to have the fur babies. So, um, so yeah, kind of going on that. I've been teaching personally for about 25 years. I've taught at University of Michigan for that whole time, and I've taught at several different community colleges, just part-time here and there to pick up extra cash. So I've been a teacher my whole adult life. That's who I am. And about like probably 17 or so years ago now, um, I joined a meetup, and the meetup was for foraging. And shortly after I joined, the lady who was running the meetup decided to step down, and she handed it over to me. And I, at first, just kind of ran it and, did like things where people, I thought we were going to meet up and forage. But what ended up happening was we would meet up, and like 9 out of 10 people had no experience and were there to learn. And I ended up teaching. And I was like, well, I do that during the week. And so I went to shut the meetup down because I felt like I was working on the weekends. And everybody was like, no, we'll pay you to keep doing this. And I was like, are you kidding me? And that was the start of Will Forage for Food. So I changed the name of the meetup to Will Forage for Food. And I started doing classes just here and there at first. And then about 14 years ago, a group of only about a dozen of us on the meetup got together for a potluck. And we jokingly called it the Great Lakes Foragers Gathering. Um, I'm sorry, for those of you who don't know me, I'm very emotional. And going over my history is really kind of cool. So, so yeah, we had the Great Lakes Foragers Gathering. It was 12 people. And then year 2, it was 24. And year 3, it was 50. And year 4, it was 80. It like just kept growing and growing. Year 5, it was an entire weekend. We were at a horse camp, and there was manure everywhere, and it poured rain. It absolutely poured rain. And 60 people followed Sam Thayer around in the freaking horse manure in the rain. it was
Yes,
it
we
was
did.
insane. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. And in 2018 we got the holler for the first time, and their outdoor kitchen totally changed the entire event into what it is today. Like, we can't do this without them. Like, I couldn't imagine doing it anywhere else. Like, any any place that we had to go indoors for a kitchen just wouldn't be right. you know so just really happy with that. And they're great. And by the way, they have a music festival called Hollerfest that's in August, and if you have not been there, you should check that out, because that's a lot of fun too. And they somehow, like, we serve 300 people, they somehow serve 1,000 out of that kitchen at Hollerfest. Yeah, it's insane. So yeah.
All right, it's
All right.
7:04 and let's get started. Rachel's gonna talk about today's agenda briefly, and then I'll let you guys know how to join the conversation by raising hands with the react button. I'll go in details after Rachel's done. Rachel?
Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure everybody knows, yeah, just like what Min said, we're going to have a more open forum here in a little bit, but I want to just bring everybody up to speed first. And I also want to introduce you guys to Elena and Min. Min has her camera off, but you heard her speaking. She's our kitchen lead. Most of you have met her. Elena's a little quieter. Say hi, Elena.
Hi.
Sorry, my video,
So I just,
my laptop doesn't have video. So,
Oh no. Well, we can admire your cute puppy in the meantime.
yep.
yes. So Elena is another one of our event coordinators. And then there's Savvy. I don't know if you guys have met Savvy, but Savvy is another event coordinator. And the four of us are really like the main team that does all of the year-round planning. And then Denise, you want to wave to everybody? Denise is on here. Denise handles our instructors, and does a lot of work with that, and she's great with that. And then Jess, I saw Jess is on here. And I know you guys may or may not see these people on your screens, but Jess,
There she is.
there she is. Yeah. She does all our work study. This woman organizes 45 people without any input from me and makes everything happen. So like all of these ladies, and then also Gretchen, can't forget Gretchen. Gretchen lets us use her discount for the bakery to get all of the food for the event. So our food budget is not a main portion of our budget, by the way. We have a lot of foraged foods, but what food budget we do have, Gretchen helps out with, and she does a lot of help with planning with the menus and stuff too, because she's a professional baker and stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of introduce the crew because I know some of you know some of them and some of you don't. But all right, so let's just jump in and let you know what's going on. Is we have two problems that we need to resolve with this event going forward. There were kind of, and I know most of you are here because you heard that I wanted to shut it down, and probably 2/3 of you are on the Save the Gathering committee that formed without my knowledge, which is, it worked. We're saving the gathering. Good job, guys. But yeah, there are two problems that we need to address. The first problem that we have is a staffing issue with running the event itself. Colleen and Min, the two of them, run 7 meals, and they run nonstop from 6 a.m. to midnight. Min starts the Friday before, Colleen starts on Tuesday, and we're not done sometimes for 3 or 4 days afterwards by the time we get everything cleaned up. And then Savvy and I, you guys, we've never made a list of foods before, and it was wonderful making a list and reading it off to you guys this year. That was so cool. But it also made me realize over half of what's on that list, Savvy and I forage. That's a lot of hours of foraging, right? And so this event depends on 4 people. And if any one of those 4 people gets sick, everything falls apart. So we need to do something that's going to be more sustainable from a staffing perspective. And we've also talked to Colleen about this because she's not on tonight, but she's very important, obviously, in the kitchen, and has, we wanted her input on what we were going to do. And yeah, I'm going to get emotional again. Whew. We're going to cut lunches out next year and see how that works, because that means Savvy and I have to forage for 2 fewer meals, and Min and Colleen cook 2 fewer meals. And we think that might be more sustainable, because then if one of us does get sick for a week, or heaven forbid, Min or Colleen breaks an ankle or something, like there's enough of us that we can take up the slack, because right now we can't take up the slack if something happens to one of us. So we're going to try cutting out lunches. So that's the first thing that's already been decided among our crew. So I mean, we can discuss it if you guys have input on it about how we might, I would love ideas about how we might have. I envision something that in my head I'm calling stone soup lunches, where like small groups of people might get together and lunch together and use it as a community building activity. During the lunches, because like I know, for example, there's a whole group of people from Kalamazoo. Maybe at lunchtime you could put up a big sign that says Kalamazoo, so that other people from Kalamazoo can find you. And we have a group from Ipsy, they can put an Ipsy sign, like, so we know where we have these big groups, we can get people together at lunch and gather. I don't want it to be everybody going scattering back to their tents to little individual cooks, but we have to do something. And so we are going to eliminate the lunches, and I'm really game for ideas when I get through the whole thing. And we open it up for comments and everything. I'm game for ideas about how we might do lunches without cooking lunch. So that's one thing. And we may revisit in the future putting lunches back. We just want to try this for a year and see what happens. The other thing we have to address is that there is a mismatch in the budget between what we bring in and what the event costs to run. And that mismatch comes out of the organizer's pocket. And 4 out of the last 5 years, we have been in the red. We cannot keep doing that. Now, I don't want you guys to get like all like panicky about it. It's like little tiny bit in the red. None of us are like angry about it, okay? But we put in a lot of hours to end up in the red. We need to end up in the black, right? So we need to do some different things to address this budget mismatch. And the reason we decided, because the organizers did decide after the gathering this year, we decided that yes, we're going to go ahead with next year because we feel like this community has the ability to find a way to close the gap. Like, it's not a huge gap, but it's a gap. And so we're going to be looking at ways to close that gap. And so, again, before I open up the floor, I just want to, there have been lots of people who have suggested things to me already. So I want to go over what's been suggested and what we've conversed about behind the scenes already, and then see what you guys have to say. So one thing that was proposed by some people is that we have a meal plan, a separate meal ticket from the event ticket. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but our event committee has decided that we do not like this. Nobody on the event committee likes this idea. Like, the event is based on the meals. Everybody who comes should be able to eat. We should be making the event affordable so that everybody who comes can come and eat. And on top of that, as I said earlier, the meals are not a huge part of the budget. So making the meal plan a separate ticket doesn't really save us hardly any money. So it's removing the lunches doesn't really affect the budget that much. Lunches don't even have, we do vegetarian lunches. So we don't even have a meat cost for lunches. It's like 2/3 of what we serve at lunch is already foraged and free. So that's not affecting our budget. So we decided against having a meal plan because we just really don't think that that's getting us anywhere. And we want everybody to enjoy the food. Another thing that was suggested was a tiered payment plan or a sliding scale plan where people could pay more or less depending on their income. That way people who can afford more can help to support the event more. And there were some people this year who couldn't afford to come. And that really bothers me because these are people who've been coming to this event for years. And I don't like that they're being excluded. So we want to maybe do that. So we are considering a tiered payment plan. We haven't made any decisions about that yet, but it's something we're considering. It was suggested that we might go for nonprofit status so that we could apply for grants and things, and we don't want to do that. That the grants, the amount of money that we need wouldn't be worth having to set up a board and go through all the hoops and being a nonprofit and changing the whole entire event and how it's run. So we have rejected the idea of being a nonprofit. We don't think that we need to get grants to come up with the amount of money that we need. We think that we can do it. Or we can do it with grants that are available to not nonprofits. Another thing that we are considering, and this won't make a huge difference, but it will make a little bit of difference. And if we do a lot of little things, they add up. We're considering possibly not giving a discount for couples. Right now we have one price for an individual and another price for couples, which is like a $25 discount. And if we didn't do that, it would change our budget by about $1,500. So it gets us part of the way there. So that's something we're considering. We'd like to keep the couple discount. So if we can close the cap without eliminating that, we'd like to do that. But it's not off the table. Some changes in the way the instructors are paid. There have been a few instructors who have talked about the way they get paid, that they don't feel they need to be paid so much. On the other hand, we have instructors that definitely do need to be paid this well because this is their job and we can't ask them to work for free. So we're looking at some changes to how we're going to schedule things that would correspond with some changes in instructor pay. But overall, it would hopefully allow people, the instructors who like we have instructors who this is their job, and if they weren't at the gathering, they'd be teaching plant walks or teaching an herbalism class because it's the weekend and that's what we do on the weekends, right? And so those people need to be compensated in a way that's equivalent to what they would have made otherwise, or at least close. Otherwise, they can't afford to come because this is their job, right? So so we're going to try to like work a different payment plan with the instructors, but we're still trying to work that out. And that's a conversation I'm going to have with a small group of instructors to try to figure out how we're going to do that. And that will help us close the gap a little bit because the instructors are probably about half of our budget. So if we can reduce that cost somewhat, but we don't want to lose our best instructors in the process. So we got to be careful with that. It's been suggested that we change the work study payment. Right now, work studies are fully reimbursed for their work. We might do this, but we really, really want to avoid it because some people work study is their only way in. And you know, we want to be able to have that for them. So we unfortunately, not everybody can work study. We had some people, like we have a lot of work study spots. Spots are not a problem. We can get everybody who wants to work study onto work study. But we had, for example, a single mother who wanted to come this year and couldn't afford the ticket for herself and her child. And she can't work study because she's a single mother, and who's going to take care of the child, right? We had a woman who's on disability who came on work study. She did a great job with her work study. She spent the entire rest of the event in her tent because work study exhausted her. Ugh, I hate that I'm emotional. I don't want that, right? So one thing that we are considering is we want to increase our scholarship availabilities. Right now, we have a scholarship for young people. We want to increase our scholarship availability to give scholarships to people who can't afford to come and also can't work study for one reason or another, right? So that increases our gap a little bit, but it's something I feel we need to do because we're a community and we need our community members to be able to come and enjoy the event. All right. Another thing we rejected is people have suggested that we charge vendor fees. I don't want to charge vendor fees. I love that everybody comes and brings their stuff. And if you only sell $5 worth of stuff, it doesn't matter. I love that. And I don't want to charge vendor fees. So I think we've kind of rejected that as an idea. Also, I don't really think, like, we don't have a ton of vendors. And I think most of the people who are vending wouldn't vend if we charged a fee, because people don't make a lot of money vending at the event for the most part. So yeah, I don't think that's the greatest idea. And another thing that we've talked about is better marketing. And this is something where we really need the community as a whole to step up. You guys who are on here, and then in general, like, we'll be posting for more help, but nobody that's on our current event team is good at marketing. 90% of our marketing is Facebook. Like, there are so many other places we could be advertising. We did not sell out this year. If we had sold out, we would not have been in the red. Our budget was good. Our budget was where it needed to be, but we didn't sell out. And we need to find somebody with some marketing experience who can get the word out there and like tell people about the event someplace other than on Facebook. And, the few people who happen to stumble across it on the website or something like that, they're just searching. But, we need to get on other types of social media. We need to get people who are not on social media. So we need some marketing experience. And for that, what we really need is a person as much as we need ideas, because the group of us who are already running the event don't have time to pick up more work. We need, like, a few years ago, Denise stepped in and started helping out with instructors, and Jess stepped in and started helping out with work study. What we need somebody to step in and start doing our marketing, and really be there and be like into that. And we also need, our last thing that we've been considering is we need sponsors. Like, there's other events that all have, like, signs that so and so is $1,000 sponsor or a gold level sponsor, and so is a silver level sponsor, right? Like, we could easily have sponsors. There are a lot of local community places. There are a lot of Great Lakes regional places. We could totally have sponsors, but again, we need somebody to step up, because we need somebody who kind of maybe has a little bit of experience and is maybe a little more extroverted than some of the people who are on the current event committee to like see if we can find sponsors. Because that, if we had better marketing and a few good sponsors, we would close that gap a lot. So yeah, I think that's where we are right now. So go ahead, and I just will open up the floor then to questions, comments. And Min, if you go ahead and raise your hand, Min will go ahead and unmute you. Or if you don't want to unmute, if you'd rather, you can use the chat and Elena will monitor that. So
All right, so
please give me input.
all right, so if you look at the screen, there's React icon on the bottom, right next to share button or similar. It's almost in the middle. So if you go to the React, there's a raise a hand button, and I will unmute. Okay, after explanation. All right, so after I am checking who's first, I will unmute each person. And anybody who wants to like have an immediate input, you can just type in the chat, or if you cannot find the React button, you can type in the chat and I'll ask Elena to summarize once in a while. So we're gonna, Denise, is it about the comment, or do you have a question on how it runs today's meeting?
You have to unmute her, Min.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I have an actual question in response to what Rachel has shared. I know.
So okay, let's start the meeting then. Rachel had two big categories: how to do our lunches, and the second one was the budgeting issue. So we'll just go right into the budget first.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we could just go random, Min. I'm fine with that.
All right.
Whatever order they raise their hands. Yeah.
All right.
What you got, Denise?
Well, I just wanted to make sure, because I actually have somebody in mind who might be able to help with marketing or sponsorships or both or whatever. And so I'm guessing that this would also be like a work study position that they would then have. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it would be similar to what you and Jess do. Yeah. So you'd be kind of, we have like our core event team, and then we have like our second group. So this would be that second circle where you guys are, and we're definitely, it's definitely kind of similar. And I keep saying like you guys to make sure other people know what I'm talking about. Jess and Denise both work fairly independently to do what needs to be done. I've given them some guidelines and some direction, and then they come to me when they have questions or need help. And they work very independently, and that's really what we need, is somebody like that. So Denise, if you actually want to recommend somebody to me, maybe you could do an online introduction or something off of this. and talk about it. What else do we got? I see Gretchen's hand up.
So let me, says lower hand, lower hand. My hand is lowered. I'm glad someone stepped up to do this. One of the things I mentioned to Rachel was, I mean, we got a pretty diverse community all over the state. And one of the things, so I'm in the Celine Craft show twice a year. And one of the things that that organization does is they create a flyer and then they post it for vendors who are attending to share it with their own social media circles. So one of the things I suggested was that we create a flyer now, post it, and tell everybody when you go to the Traverse City Cherry Festival, post this flyer. If you go to the Morel Festival, post this flyer. Everybody should be taking these flyers and just dispersing them in their own communities. And that is right there. You've printed it off. We create it. I'll create it. And just make it available for people to post and share in their own social medias, share it on Instagram, share it on Facebook, whatever it is, print it off in your own printers, take it into work. But I didn't really say that. Just get it printed. It is a color. I would do a color version. But you wouldn't have to print it in color if you didn't need to. But just getting it more of it out there. It's just another way of doing free advertising. And then we can close the ticket gap.
All right, so you're suggesting some type
Yeah.
of flyer that we can distribute to instructors that they can take now.
Not just instructors, everybody,
Yeah,
Yeah.
participants.
anybody in the community.
All right. Val?
But another,
Oh,
actually,
sorry.
before Val, Denise, can you make a note that another part of the suggestion we had as part of the suggestions for changes for instructors is several of the instructors said if we had something canned for them, they would do more social media outreach. So Gretchen's talking about a flyer for the public, but you and I need to talk about a flyer for the instructors that they can use for their social media. All right. All right, now we can talk to Val.
All right, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Hey, just a couple things. You know, when you talked about not doing the lunches, I think that's a great idea because that even potentially opens up the kitchen for some other, sessions in the kitchen, which can't really be squeezed in there. And I would almost think maybe for this first year, just make some suggestions about, just think about networking or potlucking with your friends and just see what happens organically, kind of with, lunches, with what people do. It's quite a strong community. I remember Denise, that first little potluck where I met you, where we all kind of grabbed some stuff from Gretchen the first year she was there and sat down late one afternoon. So that's just a thought. I think that's a great way to relieve that kitchen staff who just goes after it so strong.
They really do. They
Pardon?
really do. They really do.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine what they're, how exhausted they are. And then just a couple other things, when you say your instructors, and yeah, I think your pay is really generous. And when you say some of your instructors would be off doing something else, and you've got to work this out with your instructors that, you don't want to lose who do this for a living, but maybe not giving them the spouse plus one, because if they were truly working and doing one of their other plant walks, their spouse wouldn't be included. So I don't know. That just, I'm throwing it out. And the only last comment I'll make, and the couples discount has always gotten me, because to me, and everybody gives a couples discount. Hey, it's we singles who are holding up a roof under with one salary who need the discount. I've been busted on that all my life. Couples have usually two incomes under one roof, and we have one. We need the discount. But I think getting rid of the $25 couples discount, when you said that would net you like $1,500 on your bottom line, is no skin off my nose, obviously. Anyway, those are just my thoughts as we were going down through things.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
One
thank
of the
you.
things I want to consider also when I'm talking about instructor pay is I really am taking into consideration what of other events are paying, because I feel very strongly that we cannot claim to be one of the greatest events in the region if we don't pay our instructors like we are one of the greatest events in the region. So and so what happened this year actually is some of our instructors who felt that they didn't necessarily need to be paid so much donated their part of their pay or all of their pay back to the scholarship fund. So that's always an option, and maybe it's an option that we make more. I don't want to be like, hey, instructors, here's your pay, you can donate it back if you want. I'm not really quite sure how to approach that, you know. But it's something that we are looking at and trying to figure out, for sure. So yeah.
In the
All right,
comments, Christy had an
yeah.
idea about bringing in a ticketed event by a special guest that could be an add-on during registration. So maybe add some optional offerings that would garner in a little bit more money for those that want to select those.
That is yeah.
Almost like the intensives that are offered at some gatherings on the first day of the event that are optional. And then it looks like Jess suggested material costs to recoup some of the costs for some of the more popular classes.
Yeah, I've thought about materials costs, and honestly, materials costs are our materials cost for the event this year that I paid out to the instructors was less than $500. Um, Materials costs, most of our instructors don't charge a lot for materials. And I personally have been the person when I was younger who paid out everything I had to go to the event and then was pissed because I couldn't attend half the classes because they cost more. Like, I kind of really feel that if you paid to go to the event, then everything should be included. I'm not against an add-on if you're paying for it ahead of time and you know about it ahead of time. But I feel like coming and paying, $15 to go to a normal class session just because you're going to make a bowl, like I don't know. But the add-on is an interesting idea, because that might be something we could add. Yeah.
Okay, so also Miranda said for the corporate sponsorship, maybe we can crowdsource within the Facebook group. So what we are looking for, for the sponsorship is just like other staff. We need somebody to take charge on. In addition, like instead of just dumping it at us and then just us trying to figure it out. We need somebody to take charge on it. But yes, crowdsourcing the idea is basically what we're doing today, and obviously we can do it in the group too. All right, I'm gonna move on to Gretchen.
I had an interesting thing happen this year that I was wondering if there's some way we can apply it. I had people paying in advance for kids to buy something, especially the s'mores. So I was thinking what I would do is I would let people buy coupons that they could hand out to children to deduct the cost of something. But during registration, if there was an additional button, I would like to add $10 to the scholarship fund. I would like to add $25 to the scholarship fund. And basically identify the scholarship fund is allows work studies or special needs people or a single mom with a kid, and it would cover these other people that, I mean, it's just right there. It's just another button and you get to choose. Oh, it's like 10, 25, other with a little heart next to other. And then try to encourage
Yeah.
people to do that right up front.
Yeah.
Because then it's
Yeah.
just another
That
button.
is, yeah, that's a good idea.
And that kind of mirrors some of the feedback from other community members who feel that they have the means and would like to support the event more. That would make it easier for them to do so.
Paul? I asked to unmute. You need to unmute from your side.
Okay,
There.
there I see it. I just had a suggestion. It seems like we want to make like a thing that we can kind of upsell people and bring in some more money, but we don't want to make like special privileged members that have a different event experience than others. Like, I believe in that like 100%. I think that's great that we're all like kind of on that page. I think something interesting might be, offer like a premium package that's like a good boost up in like income, and then offer like goodies, that you could get with it. One of them might be like a t-shirt. Like, I saw cool volunteer t-shirts this year. I know someone here in Chicago that I would be happy to try to make connections with that would be interested in probably giving, that works at a t-shirt factory kind of place and would be interested probably in giving an event like this a break in price. And I know I would personally be like very satisfied to pay like 50 or 75 bucks more, knowing that it goes to a good place and I get like a t-shirt and like some kind of little like natural food item goodie or something with it. So some price it some way where like clearly like you're paying like a lot more than a t-shirt costs, but you're donating to the good cause and you get like a cool thing. It's a hard ask on a website to be like, you can pay regular price or you can pay more, and just like have people like pay more because they can. Some people will, but I think we'd want to bring that number up as much as we could. And the missing piece for
Right.
me with that would be I'd be happy to help with that idea and that effort. I'm not a designer and I don't really know any artsy people really that have t-shirt designs. So if anyone else can fill that piece in, I'd be happy to like connect and try to help on that.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
suggestion.
Definitely, we can check into that. I have a guy who does our t-shirts we get a really good deal already, but that doesn't mean we can't get a better deal. So it's worth, investigating. Maybe see if you can find out how much they cost for a general, run of shirts, like per shirt or whatever. And find out the type of printing that they do also, because there's different ways of printing on shirts, and we found out the hard way that some of them are really plasticky when you have a big logo, which we do. So we have a whole bunch of really plasticky shirts that nobody wants to buy. So we want to there's yeah. But the guy that does my shirts actually was talking to me, and I'll have to get with him about this. He was just talking to me right before the gathering, and I had already ordered shirts for this year. But he has some sort of machine that he could come and make shirts on demand so that we could have, like, if you wanted a blue one in size small, he makes it. If you want a green one in size medium, he makes it. So t-shirts are definitely, I mean, we do sell t-shirts already and they do bring us income, but there may be some other upsell that we could put on the website. I understand what you're saying about putting an upsell with the donate button. We just have to figure out what we want to do. So.
All right. Let's see. Okay, before that, Elena, anything else from the chat?
It looks like Kim was seconding the t-shirt idea and as a thank you gift for additional contributions. If
All right.
if we're
Right,
not making
like-
the gifts
like-
tax deductible.
Right. Do
And
it like
I think,
NPR does it.
Gretchen said special t-shirt with like GLFG supporter or something to differentiate those purchases. All right. Lexi, you need to unmute from your side.
I think I got it.
Yep.
Hey, everybody. Paul, I think those were really great ideas. I definitely, I've always been curious about how sliding scale actually works as applied. I think in theory it's wonderful, but I've always been very curious, and I have no real experience in if it actually does work or not. But I know I liked the idea, but I think this whole like premium package is a great idea. And I just saw, maybe it was Gretchen or somebody, just the first couple words of what you may have said popped up. But me as someone who makes foraged products and sells them, you know, I would not be able to contribute. I probably would not be able to do that premium package myself, but I would put forth some of my goods into like a basket. I would contribute something for like towards to promote that premium package. Um, and I'm sure the other vendors would as well. I think that that's definitely a wonderful idea, along with the t-shirt and whatever special thing, you know, other ideas that people will inevitably have for that. I think that people will go for that and will spend extra money for that. Um, One thing that I was so shocked that we did not sell out this year. Um, and so to me, and from the sounds of it, that would have made a really big difference. Um,
Yeah.
and I realize that next year's date has already been set. I have one factor that for me, I drive about 4 hours. I'm from like Eastern Central Ohio. I could have had a huge group of people travel up and caravan with me to the gathering because we don't have anything really like this in our neck of the woods. That's why I travel to it. Um, However, if it were on a different weekend, um, I personally and a lot of my friends are part of the pagan community. Solstice weekend is very sacred, and a lot of people have other plans, and it fit in fine with mine, but I also really missed out on a lot of other things that I could have been doing. I know as far as weather patterns and things like that go, it's a beautiful, beautiful weekend. But it is, a lot of people have traditions on that specific weekend out of the year. And so I don't, I thought, okay, oh, maybe we could, you know, have a private, like if, you know, if somebody wants to go and gather and, you know, have a solstice celebration specifically. But honestly, it's not that kind of event. And I mean, I don't think it needs to be, and that's fine. I enjoyed spending the weekend outdoors, and it felt very enriching to me. But I just wanted to bring up the fact that just like any other holiday weekend, or, you know, we wouldn't hold an event on Christmas Day and expect a full sellout event. So I guess just wanted to bring that up. That's it. And I'm loving the direction this is headed with the ideas. Let's keep them coming.
So I get what you're saying, absolutely. And the reason we chose to keep it on solstice is because foraging is so connected to the land and such an ancient thing. And we have already been kind of talking about the fact that you are not the only one who is part of the pagan community. And you may think that this isn't part of what this event is, but you'd be damn surprised how much a part of that event this is. We have a lot of pagans in our community, and we've already been talking. Denise even just mentioned it in the chat. I saw we've already been talking about potentially adding some activities precisely because we do want to keep it on solstice specific. That was not an accidental decision. So that was because we want this community to be a community that celebrates solstice.
All right. Anything else from the chat, Elena?
Yeah, just more comments about having it on solstice and a lot of head nods and agreement and incorporating some more solstice inspired events and activities.
All right. Yeah, I'm into it if he sacrifices somebody, but that's another story. All right.
I
So
believe
there also-
Elena. Oh, Lexi, I
Oh.
have really bad news.
Yeah, I know. I have bad news for you, Lexi. You were supposed to be this year's sacrifice because you were the last one to leave. But
Elena said she was gonna. So
it was whoever was
um,
left in the holler after everyone had left, and it was like you and your mother and your sweet daughter, but I just, yeah.
All right. Just to briefly answer Kim's question in the chat. No, we do not track demographic statistics at this point, but you can see it's pretty much some young people, many family with little kids, and people in their middle age, basically. And about, I would say 20% is what we consider seniors, Gen X and above. Sorry, Gen X.
wait, what? wait, what?
So that's about the demographic. Moving on to Val or Miranda. Val, do you want to say something before we move on to Miranda, or you good? Just raise your hand if you want to talk. I'll move on to Miranda for now.
Great, thank you so much. I hope you guys can hear me. One idea I had was to grow the raffle in partnership with various like vendors or like experiences in the region. And like I know a number of our folks who attend already have like work experiences or knowledge sharing experiences at their at their own facilities or their own properties, but it might be that you can partner with a like a vacation rental cabin place or a kayaking adventure place or something. Sometimes folks can write these expenses off on their taxes as advertising fees, and sometimes they can use it maybe as a someone pays part, like maybe part of the money goes back to them for their own business, and then like maybe they get like 20% and then you get 80% or something, like if someone were to lead an experience and have people do something with them. Am I making sense? So this is like and I'll tell you, the idea came from coming to Kalamazoo for some sort of fundraiser, and people were auctioning off like cruises, like these were like really high-end things. But sometimes if you already have a property and you're gonna Airbnb it anyways, like this could be a way to give people a vacation experience and also kind of advertise for some of the businesses that people run in the area. That's it.
I think shall we? I think we've got this. Can we move on to the next topic? Are we good? Min, you think we're ready?
I guess so. Yes, we need to talk
And we
about
wrapped up the chat.
kinda. We're a little behind, but the cooling thing came up by Mark, so let's move on to that. It's
Yes.
kind of important to address, including the motorized mule idea.
Yes,
within
yes,
that. So
yes.
we'll
So
go over that.
so one of the other things that's going to change for next year is that we had incidents with the heat this year, and it's really weird that I don't know how we managed to go 14 years and this was the first year we had problems, but we had problems with the heat. And fortunately, we have never done this before, but fortunately we rented I don't know what it's called, but I keep calling it an Airbnb because it's like an Airbnb, but it was an RV. They brought it to the site, they hooked it up for us, they came and got it when we were done. And fortunately, we were able to plug that thing into the holler kitchen, and it had air conditioning because we had to stick a few people in there over the weekend. And so that was definitely helpful, and something that we are working into the budget for next year. Again, this year we rented it, like just a group of us just to rent it. and it became part of the event. And so next year it's becoming part of the budget, because it was a good cooling station, and we definitely need to make it more well known that that's available if people need to cool off. And then another thing we're going to have next year is, Denise just said the electrolytes were great, and that's exactly what I was about to say. We have always had, at all times, there's tea and coffee up at the kitchen for people to fill, and we always have a couple different types of tea. So next year, instead of a couple different types of tea, we are going to have tea, and we are going to have switchel always at the kitchen for everybody. And I already have 3 gallons of vinegar fermenting in several different flavors. My kitchen is a kaleidoscope of color. So so that's, and then another thing we've talked about is that we want to have, I don't know what we want to call them, but my daughter called them water mules. That's what the event she works at calls them. And it's people who drive around on a golf cart with water and electrolytes and ice and just refill people's water bottles all day. They just drive around refilling people's water bottles. That's their job. And I know at least a couple of the incidents that we had were seniors, or people with mobility issues who just didn't get up to get themselves water, because to walk over to the water is a big deal for them. And so having water come to them would have made a difference. So that's part of what we're looking at having that next year. We need, however, a golf cart or an ATV or one of those little tractor-y things. I don't know, something. We need something that somebody can drive around with water on. The golf cart in the holler is not available for our use because they've allowed somebody else to use it in the past with very bad results. So they don't let anybody use it at all anymore. So I don't want to sell ice, Miranda. We gave ice to everybody this year. We gave it to everybody and it cost us $80. We don't need to sell it. So Maggie says she can bring her gator and be the water lady. Jess, can you make a note of that? We'll put Maggie on a work study. And Jessica wants to be her sidekick. Great, we have 2 of them. That's what we need. Jess, please make a note. Excellent. Some other things that we need is we would love to not have to pay for the glamper. So if anybody has access to a glamper, and yes, it has to be a glamper, it needs to have AC, it needs to have a shower, because those things were critical this year. So if you know anybody who has one that we could rent cheaper than what we rented this year, it cost us what, like $1,200 for the weekend?
It was about that. Yeah.
Elena?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's a
pocket.
budget line item now that we could eliminate if we have access to one from somewhere. So keep your eyes open for that. Let's see, also we need
Just letting you know,
people
we
to help
needed
forage.
AC for those who had heat exhaustion to prevent going
Yes.
into heat stroke. So that's why we
Yes,
need
we had
a
multiple.
shower and AC.
Yes, yeah, it has to have shower and AC for the heat.
Yeah. There's a couple people we had to
One,
put into the shower to cool
Yeah.
them down. So
yeah, there was, and one person did go to the hospital. He is fine. But we were not able to even keep, we couldn't keep any fluids into him, so he ended up having to go to the hospital to get an IV. But we had multiple other people who avoided going to the hospital and went back and enjoyed the rest of the event because we had that RV there. So I think it's important to have that again in the future. And like I used to have this job like 30 years ago where we had ridiculous company culture on safety, like to the point where I had to wear a hard hat and a life vest and one of those day glow vests to delineate wetlands, like because the water was 2 feet deep. I had to wear a life vest. I wasn't in the water, I was next to the water, but I had to wear a life vest. And the company's safety culture was such that there was a guy who was hired to spy on us to make sure that we were wearing our life vests. That was his job, was to spy on the rest of us and make sure we were following safety protocols. This job, every time anything went even a little bit wrong, had you do this entire analysis of what went wrong and how it could be avoided again. And I inadvertently did an entire analysis on the situation that led to the hospitalization, and all the way back to the beginning to Thursday when that person arrived. What could we have done different starting on Thursday to make this person not go to the hospital? And we came up with half a dozen things that we are going to be doing different in the future. Thanks to that really stupid job that trained me to do that. That skill finally 30 years later came in handy. So yeah,
All right,
so
yeah,
we
we're
need,
doing the ice stations, yes, and we're gonna have the hydrating electrolytes. I don't know, Foragers, Gatorade, or whatever on the mule, and go around and make sure people drink water, have electrolytes and ice if they need. So,
Mhm.
anything
Mark
else?
Mark mentioned a shower tent area as something that could be available to also help people cool down, and the sprinklers were appreciated, but we want sprinklers for adults and children.
Oh, and
I'm not sure how we would work that.
Rachel
We'll
had
have to
an
think about
idea
that.
to have the neck cooler thing that several of you guys had throughout
Yes,
the
swag.
gathering. So
People
we're
have
thinking of
that
giving
gel.
out that.
Yeah. Mark, get with me on that, like sometime over the next month or two.
All right.
So yeah, more tents are, the thing is, I already own 3 tents and the only thing I do with them is this event. Like, how many do I need to buy? And you can't rent tents in June. That's when everybody has weddings and graduations and all kinds of, like, we cannot rent tents and tables. So we definitely could use more tents, but we need to figure out how to get them from the community, because I can't own like 30 tents and keep them in my shed. I can't do that. But yeah, that's something. Yeah, and I did tell people to bring tents this year, so it's something we can make sure to bring next year. Another thing we're looking for is people to help forage, and I know several people who are already on here are helping forage, so thank you. And just keep doing what you're doing. If you want to help forage and you didn't get the link to the spreadsheet, let me know, and I'll get you the link to the spreadsheet so that you can start foraging. And we definitely need, like I said, a couple of people to step up and take the leads on these things. We need somebody to step up and take the lead on marketing, and we need somebody to step up and take the lead on this fundraising. Like, are we going to get people to donate stuff for a raffle? Somebody needs to take the lead on that. Are we going to get, sponsors? Somebody needs to, so we need somebody for fundraising and somebody for marketing. To team challenges, right? Who can do more? So yeah, and we can definitely put it out to the community. We have a great community. I mean, there's 16 of us on here, but there's several more people who couldn't be here tonight, and there's a lot of people who are willing to help out. They just don't care to sit on a Zoom. So we have a great community if we have somebody to take the lead. But like I said, what we have in our current event committee can't take the lead on these 2 things. We need 2 more people. So yeah.
So that main role of
And
social media and also the main role of fundraising,
yeah, not just social media, marketing in general.
marketing.
Yeah, marketing and fundraising. So
All right, so that's pretty much everything except the scholarship idea and the overall community activity ideas. So, but if you want to settle on the sponsor leader and the marketing leader, we may need another meeting or another email going out, but it's already 8 and it's pretty much open to everybody. I'll just unmute everybody and this is just open floor from here.
yeah, there was one more thing I wanted to ask for input on from you guys. So one of the things that we've been talking about is, again, the instructors are like half the budget, at least half the budget, sometimes more. So if we can cut down instructors, we can cut down the budget, but nobody wants to cut down classes, right? So obviously, so what we were thinking is about doing some more community type activities along with the classes. And this, you guys brought up the solstice thing, and Denise and I had already been talking about a drum circle for solstice. So like maybe on Saturday afternoon, as one of the class sessions, you can go to the drum circle for solstice. And that can be led by Denise, who I don't have to pay any extra because she's not a professional teacher. No offense, Denise, right? But like we can get work study to run some of these things, right? Instead of having teachers run every single class. Like we could do, like we've done in the past, we've done things like relay races and scavenger hunts. We can do those things and put them into the lineup and have them run by work study, which is a lot less expensive than having classes for the whole thing. So what I'm looking for, and we don't have to all answer right now, but what I need you guys to think about is what kind of community activities can we do during class session times that can be run by work study? Like what kind of fun things can we do that will be community building, community growth activities? So yeah, that's pretty much the last of what I have for now.
All right, you guys can unmute
So yeah,
yourself.
thank you so much for coming, everybody. What was that, Min?
You can unmute yourself, by the way.
Jessica had her hand up.
Oh, yep.
You can go ahead and unmute. Yeah.
I just had an idea about, well, first of all, the scavenger hunt that we did a few years ago was super, super fun. We had a great time doing that. And it was kind of a challenge. We all had to run into the woods and see who could get through the list the fastest. And that was super fun. That was a really great time. I enjoyed doing that. Back to the marketing thing, I just had a thought about how if we did have a person who kind of was the marketing person, and even if they did like a quick write-up like the flyer, or something that I could take to somebody local in my community to help them connect and not actually be the person who's spearheading it. Does that make sense? If it was just like a little blurb or something about, Will Forage for Food or about the event that I could take to some of my local areas and see if they would pique some interest in it and connect them to that person and see if maybe that's something that could at least as a community help without having to be like the marketing person. Because I have a few
Right.
organizations here that I think would be interested in doing something like that. I think I would just need to have like the basic information, the contact person that I could like hand to somebody. So that was just a thought that I
Yep.
had.
Yep. And I think there are a lot of people just like you that have a few connections here and there, but we just need somebody to lead it. We need
Yeah.
somebody to step up and lead it.
So one of the
So-
things I did, I mentioned earlier
Same thing
that
with the fundraising. Go ahead.
one of the things I mentioned earlier is about that flyer. Because I am in food circles, it occurred to me that there's a lot of like the Edible Wow magazine would probably love to pick up and do a little article about this. So I also started writing a little article. So I Googled who would be interested in knowing about wild foraged food events, and Bon Appetit. I mean, there's a lot of food magazines. There's the DNR, there's the local youth groups. There's in Ipsy in Ann Arbor, we have Growing Hope, where we're teaching kids how to do urban farming. I mean, there's posting it at Dawn Farms, posting out at Tantray. I mean, there's lots of, it's just a matter of brainstorming enough ideas and getting them involved. And I started writing a little article. I sent it out to the community, the committee members. And I would love to have like a 500-word essay, a 1,500-word essay. And that way, if we sent it to a tiny local newspaper, they could say, well, this is a good start, but we're going to let one of our people do it. Or we're going to use your article, but we want it smaller. Or, oh, we really love it. We'd like photos. We want to do a really big spread. It's just a matter of getting people thinking like that, how to spread the word.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which is again why we need somebody to spearhead it, because like I just can't do everything. I wish I could. I can't. So yeah.
And the book of like the collection of recipes and stuff, that was meant to be a fundraiser, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think
So we
that-
have a group of people. We have a group of people working on that.
okay,
So
perfect.
I also attend a farmer's market where during the market, they go around and ask all the vendors to donate one small item that they raffle off to the community. And anyone attending the community can get a $1 ticket, a $2 ticket to win a small wagon filled with goods. And that's just going around to the different vendors and saying, hey, do you have some small thing? I mean, that one kid he was charging $35 for a slice of walnut and selling it as a necklace. They were gorgeous. I wouldn't pay $35 for it, but he was quite the salesman. And I'm sure we could enlist him to go around and convince people. It was like, hey, what could you donate to this? And it wouldn't even have to be vendors. Anybody could donate.
Anybody could donate, but you know, like that kind of ties back to like several people have suggested we charge a vendor fee. Maybe we don't charge a vendor fee, but if you vend, you're required to donate. One little thing.
Mhm.
I mean, that is pure profit for you guys because you get a whole bunch of people
Yeah.
buying a $2 ticket to win something that's basically we've all donated to. That goes straight to the group.
Yep. That's definitely helpful. So, and again, none of these things is going to close that gap by itself. We need them all to happen in order for it to work. Like we need the marketing to happen. We need to have several different fundraising things. We need to close, you know, like I said, it's not undoable, but it's not little either. So we need to definitely have this happen because we can't keep working 1,000 hours and not even paying the mortgage for the month of June. You know, they just can't keep doing that. So yeah. All right. Anything else anybody got? You can always email me or message me later offline with ideas and stuff. And then if anybody's interested in taking the lead on any of this, that would be absolutely wonderful. Just let us know. And yeah, we will go from there. And again, if you take the lead on it, it comes with a family pass because you're now working for the event. So yeah.
All right, Mark reminded of other activities for the restructuring, the community building activities, and Mark specifically talked about panel discussion.
Oh yeah, the panel discussion. We've been throwing this idea around for a panel discussion. So on Thursday, I'm curious what you guys all think of this. On Thursday, the whole group gets together and sits down for the keynote, and everybody's in one place, and we have the potluck dinner, and it's really nice, right? What if on Sunday, everybody has the pancake breakfast, and we have this big breakfast, right? And then we have a panel discussion so that everybody is together again at the end of the event, to kind of wrap up, rather than having the breakout session like we've been having, because we had a panel discussion last year and it was really good, but we were like trying to figure out where to put it. And I think putting it on Sunday morning, like we could literally just be like, oh, we're all gonna laze around, we're gonna eat brunch from like 9 to 10:30, and then we'll have a panel discussion from 10:30 to noon, and then by then the kitchen's ready for us to raid all the leftover food.
One thing I
You
would
know,
caution,
and it kind of, yeah.
the only thing I would caution is make sure that that panel has a theme because you don't want it to just be an open air discourse for people who want to complain about what happened during that weekend.
Oh yeah, no, it would be a panel. The panel we had last year was somebody did their podcast. And they interviewed specifically because we've got all these teachers all in one place at one time. It's a great opportunity to get multiple viewpoints on something. So yeah, a panel, we're looking at this idea of a panel. So if you guys have an idea of who might be good to lead a panel or to be on a panel or what we might talk about, we're just throwing that idea around for Sunday morning, because again, if we eliminate the breakout session on Sunday morning, that eliminates part of our instructor budget. And I really, really love the idea of having everybody back together on Sunday morning before we leave. I like the idea of bringing the whole community together to close the event. We open the event with a keynote and then we close the event with a panel. I just think that'd be kind of cool.
Mark and Miranda both made the suggestion of moving a keynote to Friday as opposed to Thursday evening because it seems a little busy. I just was wondering what the logic was having it on Friday evenings or Thursday evenings.
Just because that's the beginning of the event and usually the keynote's at the beginning.
It could be 10 a.m. on
Like there's
Friday.
no real reason. Huh?
It could be 10
No, I
a.m.
don't
on
want to, we
Friday.
don't want to do it on Friday. No, we don't want to do it on Friday morning. Friday morning is the group forage. That's not going to change. But we could theoretically do it on Friday evening.
We can move the time on Thursday
Then
to a
what would
bit
we,
later.
okay, so if we did the keynote on Friday evening, what would we do on Thursday evening as an icebreaker? Because the keynote is really our icebreaker.
Yeah, also we have like open mic on Saturday and then the cook-off on, well, cook-off may move, but we kind of always have some activity planned for Friday and Saturday nights. Balloon fight? What? Okay, community
Water balloons because it's
mixer.
hot.
Hey, you said it's an icebreaker.
Community mixer
Yep.
on Thursday.
Yeah, because we've always struggled with what exactly to do on Friday night. So it wouldn't necessarily hurt to move the keynote to Friday night. Also, I think we would sell more day passes because people would theoretically come to a Friday night keynote when they don't have to get up Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So that's an idea. I'm gonna put that in the notes too. That's another one we hadn't considered. But yeah.
I like the idea of breakout topics and then let people discuss it. You can even throw a whole bunch of ideas into a hat and have people pull them out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, breakout topics. That's a great idea.
Mark mentioned the idea of incorporating the idea of a closing ceremony into the Sunday event instead of just a panel discussion. If we are having this on solstice, maybe that makes sense too, to have that be part of the theme of our panel discussion and maybe some of the activities that we're doing on Sunday.
Yeah, that's kind of, I was thinking along those lines because like we don't really have any sort of closing on Sunday because everybody goes to a class and there's 7 different classes and all 7 different classes end at a different time and people wander away to pack up their tents and there's no real cohesion to the end of the event. And so that's kind of what I was thinking is if we had a panel discussion, then immediately after the panel discussion, I could do a closing or we could have somebody do a closing ceremony of some sort and it would end the event. And I think, and I just really like the idea, like I said, I really like the idea of bringing the whole community back together at the end of the event. So.
Mark doesn't really like panel discussion because it sounds super academic, but you know what, we can call it whatever. It's just panel discussion for the convenience of the talk. But
what do you want to call it, Mark?
Couch talk is fine since there are couches on the stage.
We always called it the dead dog panel.
Round table?
The end of a hot weekend.
Yeah. Do you want me to call it a round table, Mark? Is that better? Yeah. So.
Mossy table.
Mossy
I guess
table.
I'll just go off mute here and just go more efficient since I type slow.
Everybody can be off mute now.
I just I love the idea of a breakout of people kind of coming, you know, maybe 1 or 2 themes, but there's a lot of people. One thing, panel discussions in my experience don't work well with more than 30 or 40 people because the public doesn't interact. There are just too many people that are the wrong character types for a public interaction. And I do them in every single teaching class that I do. The last hour is interaction. Large groups, they never are successful as with 20 or 30 people groups. And you know, in an academic
you're
setting,
picturing the same thing I'm picturing.
I haven't, I guess keep fleshing it out, because you've been talking about it a lot. And in my mind, I'm seeing a very academic focused thing that will appeal to a certain set of people. Please do share your vision more.
I was picturing, okay, so what we had last year was we had a guy who Steve does a podcast, and so he played the host, and he had, I don't know, half a dozen of our instructors that he had up on the stage with him, and they had microphones, and he was leading a discussion where he was asking them questions. I believe the topic of his panel was sustainability. And so he was asking questions about sustainability and allowing the various instructors to answer them. And he specifically chose instructors because, like, he chose one person who is like a commercial forager, and he chose one person who is a land manager, and he chose another person who is a permaculture person, and he chose, like, so he chose specifically a cross section of different people to get a rounded discussion on this topic. So I don't know I don't know why the number of people in the audience would be relevant to that.
I liked it a lot when we did it with I think it was the Wild World podcast is the one that you're talking about. And I really
that's what I'm
enjoyed
talking
that.
about.
Yeah, it was really nice. Because to me, a big part of foraging is kind of the moral code and the mindset and all these things that go with it. And it was really interesting to sit and talk to so many different types of people coming from different perspectives on one topic. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. So I understand your vision, Rachel, and what you're saying. So it wouldn't necessarily be like 200 people all trying to like communicate to each other, but there would be like a topic and have a handful of people talking about that topic and us all listening. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does
Either
that
way,
make more sense, Mark?
What's that?
Does that make more sense to you?
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, to me, I guess that seems just more like maybe I'm hung up on the panel discussion thing. I've talked to a couple other people offline, and they're like, yeah, that sounds super academic. I'm worried about the marketing of it. And the other thing is, I guess all the times I've gone, Sunday morning always winds up being technical, of having to deal with packing stuff up and getting things dealt with and everything. So I very seldom make it to any Sunday events anyway, just because there's just too many things to do. And especially if it's hot, trying to get stuff done before you're cooked in the afternoon. Those
What if
are
it was
my
during
concerns.
pancakes? If we're all eating pancakes and listening.
So
that's what I was
may be a
thinking.
bad judge of this, because with other responsibilities, I never have time on Sunday morning.
Understandable.
I do like the idea of bringing everyone back together again on Sunday morning, rather than having different classes off in different locations.
Well, and that's why I love the idea of the closing ceremony, which this could be part of. To me, that's a more emotional appeal, and maybe a more spiritual and emotional appeal of that final communication as a group. Whereas a panel discussion is in my mind, a panel discussion is a much more scientific, separated, specific thing. I don't know.
So what do you want to call it, Mark?
Just,
I mean, we can call it whatever.
I already said it in the comments a couple of times. Just
I know, but I don't
propose
have
that as a closing ceremony.
Okay.
And that focused discussion be part of it, along with the breakout idea. I mean, that closing ceremony could be a couple hours of activities. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but I love the idea of the breakout things.
I thought we were talking about the breakout things for Thursday as an icebreaker.
I didn't hear that. Okay. It seems like when everybody's so totally high on the event, I get the idea of not getting a bitch fest, but I don't think that you'll get that, because people are usually pretty high on the event at the end of it. It's a great time for people to kind of process and synthesize. I suspect you'd get a lot of participation of people just throwing out ideas on what they wanted to talk about, and make breakout sessions at the end.
Yeah.
What if we simply
go ahead.
put it out there? What was your favorite thing that happened this weekend?
honestly, I didn't have a ton of favorites because I was so consumed with the heat.
No, but I'm saying
I was miserable. Oh,
at the end of the
okay.
event,
It
if we
wasn't,
ask
you were being
people,
rhetorical. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Yeah.
at the event, at the end of the event, if we ask people, it's like, who'd like to talk about what was their favorite thing that happened
Mhm.
this year?
What about
Alright.
collecting ideas throughout the weekend and like a, I don't know, coffee can or something on the stage? People can put in their ideas for what they want to talk about in the breakout sessions on Sunday based on whatever workshop they saw or cool thing they witnessed and want to share or want to talk about further.
I think you could
I
start the
really like
event
that
with
idea.
breakouts.
So
Sorry. Oh,
no,
apologies.
I
I
like
think you could start it. I think you could start the event with a breakout session as sort of like an opening experience and then a closing one. It would be a very nice way to wrap up the event. You know, it provides kind of a neat package.
One other just brainstorming here. As part of the closing event, one of the breakouts might be, I mean, there are going to be some standing committees that I know we want to keep it more about the event and not about the business of it. And there's a business of it that's very real from this point forward. At the end of the event, it might be a great breakout for the people that are interested in being part of development, or the people that want to be on the foraging, the annual foraging committees, whatever. Call it a group, call it a committee, call it a focus area. I don't care what we call it, but that is a great opportunity while people are jazzed to get people together and create a little bit of face time, because Zoom doesn't do it. You don't create community on Zoom. Zoom's a wonderful tool, but it doesn't replace in-person experience for kind of gelling committees in my experience. So there's an opportunity there, whether or not it be at the beginning or the end, to make those focus areas that are critical to the long-term success of this event.
I'm skeptical people are going to stick around that long.
Well, we had in the past, Rachel had people over to her place as a potluck and basically just gathering. It wasn't quite committee. We were just going over what to forage and whatnot. It was just relaxed potluck kind of thing. We could do that with the core organizers and committee leaders, so to speak.
Yeah, and these don't have to be Robert's Rules of Order meetings by any means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Val, are you talking?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was checking to see if it's on mute. So if you did a vendor raffle, that would be something that you could do, Sunday morning as part of the closing to get people to stay around.
I
That's
like
a great
that.
idea.
So are you thinking, so here, let me go back to because there was a lot of ideas I heard there with the vendor raffle. You're gonna say, vendors, we really are gonna expect you to donate something to a raffle and just, put not a lot of teeth in it, but just say that's gonna be the expectation instead of charging a vendor fee.
I think that's fair. I mean,
Okay.
like you can donate one small thing to we're not asking people for big donations. We're just asking
No.
for, yeah.
And then vendors in any and I think, and of our community in general, there are a lot of people who want to share a goodie that they make.
Yes.
Right.
So I guess what I'm thinking about, I'll talk to you more about it, Ray. So I guess I'm willing to take that task on, of getting, donations from them.
Okay.
And handling that. Maybe you and I can chat some time and make sure we're both on the same page and how we'd make that look. But I see that for that being a carrot to get people to hold on Sunday with breakfast. We're gonna raffle off this big, hopefully good sized basket of donated goods. At the end.
Yeah, people are going to stick around if they think they're going to win something, right?
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
That's a good hook.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, you're all on the
I like
hook.
that.
You're all on the
Well,
hook for something for the basket then too, besides the vendors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Make
hook
some
then,
good jar of jelly. I mean, I really think with what we have with people, with what all they make, if we really push this, we could make a pretty doggone cool selection of
but you
stuff.
must be present to win.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
And Mark, next year we'll follow you around on a golf cart and I'll dump a bucket of water on you.
Yeah.
yeah. So, well, next year, hopefully you won't be on antibiotics.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that would, yeah, not being on doxycycline would be great.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh man.
yeah,
All right.
I'm on a number of medicines that
See,
react with the heat. It's not a good thing,
yeah. So,
but
Speaking
they
of
keep me alive.
speaking of the heat and fundraising and yeah, like activities and stuff, you could have a dunk tank. Since Jessica, you mentioned dunking him with water, you could have a dunk tank of icy water and do it as a fundraiser.
There we go.
Yeah.
I don't I really
that's a
love
community
connecting with
activity.
yeah, I really love connecting with people. So the idea of like running around and making sure everybody has water sounds super fun to me. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
yeah.
So now we just need to find two people to take the lead on the marketing and the fundraising. So if you guys should decide you want to do that, please contact me. It's not I'm not asking for hours and hours of work. I'm just asking for somebody to be in charge so I don't have to think about being in charge of everything. Like I just need somebody who, like, the community will do the work. The community is there. They're ready to do it. We just need somebody to take the lead.
Okay, so explain again what you're talking then about fundraising different than a raffle and trying to fundraise that way. What's your other?
I'm thinking about trying to get sponsors
Okay. Okay.
and things like that. Yeah.
Because then those are funds that we can have ahead of time and budget into the event as
Yeah,
opposed to
yeah,
things
okay.
that we get during the event.
Yeah. Yeah. People who are gonna people who will pay us, I don't know, like $500 to throw their sign up on the thing at the front of the event or whatever. Maybe we could have, like I said, different levels. We could have a gold, silver, gold, platinum level. It could be like, you could be a sponsor, Val, at $100 level, whereas like somebody's business could be a sponsor at a $750 level or whatever it might be. But I just need somebody who will take the lead on it. And I don't have all the ideas. That's why I need somebody.
I'm happy to be on that committee. I can't lead it this year. I don't have the bandwidth to. I will fail as a leader on that, but I certainly can contribute.
All right.
Two things that was not really touched on today was a scholarship idea that Rachel's been accepting essays, but we want to kind of expand on what people can submit to apply for the scholarship. And the second thing is that the program restructuring idea, like we probably gonna have not just Thursday, not just Sunday, but we're gonna have like a time dedicated to a community building activities. So like Foragers Olympic kind of thing. So that was another thing. Those are the two things that I have on my notes that was not touched today.
Yeah. So those are just other things we've been considering along the way. Yeah.
Now they are considering a raffle at the end of all of it, so people do stick around for things like that on Sunday morning. Period.
All right. Anything else anybody got? Thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate that you all are willing to even just come and stay here for an hour and a half and talk about it.
Do we want to, is it helpful if we do this on a regular basis every couple months?
I'm game.
Well, that was certainly
I'm
for
game
the
for that.
development thing. It feels like something should get scheduled. Walking off of this without scheduling a follow-up feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
We do have planning and organizing timeline. We do like including Colin, everybody meets every like 3 months or so, but yes, we definitely can schedule more
I guess-
meetings with the community leaders.
I guess what I have to say about scheduling another meeting is that we do have meetings, and if you want to be involved in the meetings, then you need to lead the marketing or lead the fundraising. Right?
I don't respond well to ultimatums, so that's fine.
Want so
I'm just
desperately
like we
to
do.
volunteer for those things, but I just don't know if I have the skills necessary.
Same.
Like, I'm sitting here looking at my own business going, man, I really need to brush up on marketing, let alone for the gathering. But I want to be involved so desperately. I
Same.
just don't know if those are my
You guys, I've never worked in the kitchen at all. I only work for the kitchen, only for this
I never
event.
owned a business.
Yeah, no, none of us.
I never made an
works
event
like,
before. None of us
no.
did any of this.
No.
None of us did it. You know, like somebody muddling along half-ass doing it is better than what's happening now, because right now nobody's doing it and nobody can. Like,
Well,
we need
how are
more
you at
people.
project management? Because there are other people that will step up besides me to help, and who do
So
have
here's-
substantial experience in this. But
Here's the idea. If you have time and energy, but not much skill, you still can be the leader. And as a leader, you can pull people who knows things and you can work with them and learn from those people, adding more skills to your own portfolio, basically.
Right.
That's one way.
Right. Yeah. If you suck at marketing your business, then that's all the more reason you should do this, because then you'll be better at marketing your own business too.
You're not wrong. You're not
I know,
wrong.
but
I am good at delegating.
I'm like
I am
you,
good
like-
at delegating to people. So
that,
like
the
you, I
project
completely
management is a
rely
big
on
one, and
Facebook.
my life is too erratic. I disappear for 2 or 3 weeks at a time on consulting projects, and then the projects slip off track. That's why I know myself a little bit too well to be a leader on this.
This is really the type of thing that we need somebody who's going to take like maybe a couple hours on an afternoon once a month to just keep pushing it forward. Like once a month, I'm going to do a little blast out to everybody and see, you know, like I'm going to contact these dozen people, or once a month I'm going to do a social media thing and go out to all the things that aren't Facebook, because we know Facebook is covered, but somebody's got to do all the other stuff. Or once a month I'm going to submit an article to something, or whatever it's going to be. But I'm not looking for a huge commitment. I'm just looking for somebody who will be enough self-motivated enough to keep themselves like on track with what our goals are. And like, we can sit down and talk about what those goals are once like we know we're on board. But yeah, it's like Elena and Denise and Jess, and like none of them had experience with any of this stuff. I think Savvy is the only one who had experience with what she actually does for the event. Savvy does a lot of foraging, and she knew how to do that before she met me. Everybody else does, they don't know what they're doing, and we just muddle along. And that's probably why we are in the red every year. But if we can get enough of us muddling along hard enough, maybe we can be in the black.
I don't know. Let me
So-
think about that, Rachel, and maybe get back to you, because I do a lot of marketing for my job. It's just I'm just trying to the time restraints has always been my biggest concern in it, is if me just having enough
Yeah.
time to dedicate to it. But the timeline that you're explaining
this
to
is
me, it might be doable. But let me think about it.
Yeah, I know.
And
like,
also if you're
like,
if you're head of a committee, you know, Jess, where you can just delegate work to other people, maybe they can do little assignments for you.
I'm
You don't
very
have
good
to
at
do everything.
delegating
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
Like,
But we
see,
don't
that is-
we don't even have the big picture of what
Right.
needs to be done and how to do it, to explain how to do it to somebody else.
Right. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Let me let it roll
So-
around in my brain for a couple days, and I might email you, Rachel,
Yeah.
and see what that
But,
might
I
look like.
mean,
Because I know it's a need.
Denise, for perspective, Denise, how about how much time do you put in?
I don't know. I feel like I'm cheating the system because it doesn't feel like work to me. You know,
All
like,
right, see, there you go.
Right.
There
And
you
it's
go.
obviously something I think is important that I care about, and that makes
Yeah.
everything easier, right? When you've got the drive to want to be a part of something and to contribute to it.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
is something that's important to me. So, um, Yeah, and as we're sitting here talking to, I have some ideas too that of avenues that we could use to market. So I said, just let me let it roll around in my brain a little bit because I understand. I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
don't need to make somebody commit tonight. I would rather have a real commitment that takes you a week to get to than to have
Okay.
somebody say yes and then not follow through.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
And I'm not
smart.
going to say yes unless I'm all in. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the
So
first year that I did this for Rachel, she gave me like the bullet points of what she wanted in the letter to go out to teachers. I just really look at that each year and tweak things and like, you know, make it fit whatever is going on for the year or whatever. And then for this last year, I was like, oh my God, why don't we just have people fill out a Google form instead of me keeping track of all these emails? And now, it's like, well, that really made things a lot easier. So, yeah.
And that's
You
speaking my language. That's the type of stuff that I do in my job is streamline things and making things
Exactly.
efficient. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
all of that is definitely in my wheelhouse. So if I think I had a little bit of guidance, but like I said, let me think about it. I'm not committing to anything yet. I was like,
No.
I'm like, maybe I could do this. Because I work in housing. I'm a realtor. I talk to people every day. I communicate with people every day. And it's something that I think there's an aspect of that is in my wheelhouse. But yeah, I'll think
Well,
about it.
Jessica, actually,
Yeah, let me know.
the person that I was thinking of for marketing, I messaged her while we're having this because she's not on it, and she does marketing for a realtor group. So,
Okay.
if you decide to do it, maybe she doesn't want to like spearhead it, but she says, but yeah, but I'll help or something. So,
Yeah, somebody I could like have do some teamwork with. So
Yeah,
okay.
now you got a committee of 3. So, yeah.
Well, 4,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
Rachel's asked me specifically not to get too involved because I'm already heavily involved.
Right.
Right.
But like I said, when I have time, like yesterday, I created 3 flyers for the next few years of the gathering. She's only seen one of them. I did some more. I wrote the article. I started researching who we can send the article to get it out there, and I've got a whole list of people we can contact.
Somebody stop Virgin. She's doing too much.
This is okay. And this is my secret, you guys, because Min does the same thing. What I do is I find people who get manic and then I just put them on a roll.
But that might be me. Oh no.
That's how I run this entire event.
You
Jeff-
get manic. It's a full
Jessica.
moon on Thursday, so I don't know.
Jessica, you can be thing 1 and I'll be thing 2.
Okay. Do we get sweatshirts?
Yeah. Yes.
I will get you sweatshirts, yes.
Yeah, I was actually accused because I get into things, and one of my instructors called me a crusader. Because once I hook onto things, man, I just take off and run with them, and then everybody's like, "Where the hell did she go?"
Yeah, I've been called a border collie, so I'm kind of yeah, I get it. So
Yes, exactly.
right. All right,
Let's-
listen, I'll think about it. But
Lexi, did you have
Yes,
your
thank
hand
you.
up earlier? No, okay. I thought you had your hand up.
Anyone have anything else?
You're muted, by the way, there.
I guess I did. I'm a good helper. Reach out to me. If you want help with something, reach out. And I don't know exactly where I fit in on this exactly, but the willingness is there. That's it.
cool, love it.
Okay.
All right, thank you all. This meeting is recorded so far. It'll be probably posted. Rachel will post on her account, and I guess we're gonna have another meeting, I think, and that's up to after organizing meeting notes and all. Rachel, anything to add last?
Hang on, I'm making notes. I don't think so. I think no, we covered everything. I feel like we covered everything really well and it went really well and I got good input from you guys and I think we'll hopefully a couple of you will get in touch with me and decide to take leads on things and we'll go from there. And I know we've got definitely for the core group of us. We've got some things to work out. I've got some things to talk to Denise about with the rearranging instructors. I've got some things to talk to Jess about with rearranging work study. So, there's a lot to do. So,
Can we post a summary just for folks who weren't able to attend the meeting? At least post it on Facebook. Then that way it kind of has
yeah, you gonna write
perhaps
it?
sure can. But also maybe another call out for these roles that haven't quite been defined or filled yet.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Well, yeah, if you want to draft something up, Elena, I can look at it and then I can throw it out on my account because that's
Cool.
the one that'll get the
Sounds good. The traction.
notice. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you so much for coming, you guys, and spending like 2 hours on a Monday night for just hanging out. I really appreciate it. And like I said, like we said before, I really think that this community can do this. I think we can.
I think so.
So yeah. So let's do it. All right.
I like it when you get emotional. I love human emotions. So
Too.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm good at it.
Bye, everybody.
Really
Bye,
good at
everybody.
it.
Have a good night.
Everyone.
Bye.
Good night.